Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to our second episode today of Link Up Leaders. My name is Lisa. I'm joined as always by my co-host Francois. And again, this is Link Up Leaders. We are really excited today to be joined by another incredible guest. Today we have with us Paul Barron. Paul, hello. How are you?
I'm good. I'm not all glitchy and robotic?
Just a little bit, but
we'll push through it.
Yeah, we'll roll with it.
Yes. Starting a little bit late because of internet.
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Just having some tech issues, but that's okay. Who isn't in the COVID times, right?
I know, right?
All right, Paul. Well, let's go ahead and just jump in. We definitely want to talk to you. I have some specific questions about like your brand and getting certifications and your experience as an e-com brand owner. But let's go ahead and just talk a little bit about your background for maybe people who don't know you or aren't familiar with you. How did you get started?
Yeah, so I don't have a college degree. I was actually planning on being a pastor when I was younger. Like it's a part of my story. When I was a little kid, my entire life, I wanted to go into ministry and like help people, like start do like missions work. Like it was always around like helping people start businesses, which is really interesting because I had never had any business experience, obviously, like when I was younger, other than like paper routes and that sort of thing. So fast forward. That's pertinent because I went to school for a year in Australia. I was planning on, like I said, going into ministry and like doing charity work, basically my life. Came home, got stuck in America, was never able to finish the program. And so I had to start doing things, making money. And it's really hard to get a job when you don't have a degree, or at least one that's actually worth, is going to pay you well. So I was almost forced into entrepreneurship, and it's always, it just suits my personality better. So in 2008, I started getting into like digital marketing, learning more about like web design and web development. I started a company. I say it so lightly because it wasn't really a company, only other than we had a tax filing.
We had an EIN. that's a company. An EIN you have a formal company.
Yeah, it was a company. It's called Barking Pineapple, and we did web development, web design, and literally I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. I was just like, I'm kind of decent at design. How hard can building websites be? And we were selling websites for $100 a page. It's so stupid because there's no thought behind like, well, what do the pages need to do? Like, is it an e-commerce website or anything? Anyway, so that was kind of my intro. Worked for an agency, got hired in an agency in 2010. I was very quickly promoted to, or moved over into sales. I was hired as a project manager. Turns out I'm a terrible project manager. That's not why they moved me over. So I'm really good at sales. I'm really good at marketing. And so they moved me over and set up some key partnerships with that firm that helped us grow from when I was hired 12 employees to 80 to 100 within the first year. And it was a good experience. I ended up 2 years down the road, I was fired from that position. And that kind of works in my story because I had this life trajectory path that I wanted to do and like go into charity work essentially. And I wasn't, like, my big reason, my why was not being met. And I was making a ton of money, but like for me, life aspirationally, like I never really wanted to make a ton of money. Like that sort of entered in later in life. And I just thought of it as money as being means to be able to help me do more charity work. Because I figured a lot of missionaries, they have to raise support. And so instead of big support, I could just have a business. And anyway, so that kind of ended later in life. But I was not fulfilling this why. I didn't feel like I was achieving my life's purpose, and it was just really dissatisfying. The company going through massive growing pains, and it was to the point that about 8 out of 10 clients that I would sell within 2 weeks complaining of like they hadn't heard from the company in 2 weeks, we'd taken on, and I just felt like I was lying to people. In fact, I had a coworker who told me that I would be better at sales if I was okay with lying, if I could be okay with lying to people.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of sales positions.
Yeah, we were talking
It's
about that this
absurd.
morning, actually.
It's absurd. Like I love sales. I think it's amazing because in my head, selling is helping people. If you have a product that you can believe in, and you know that your product or your service truly solves a problem or creates some sort of desired future outcome that people can't otherwise achieve on their own, or they just don't want to do the work. And selling really is a good thing if you do it correctly. But you guys hit the nail on the head. Most salespeople have, not most, but there is bad stigma to salespeople because of like the pushy tactics and the sleazy, underhanded stuff and the lying. Like, you know, so for me, my goal was not making money, it was people. And I started saying that what I was selling was not helping people. And I didn't see the bigger picture. I was not a business owner at the time. I had experience, quote unquote, not where I am today, where now I can say, okay, they were going through growing pain. And I had a terrible attitude. I would have feared me too. But that event really kind of pushed me up onto my own. And it was really probably one of the hardest 2 years of my life, because I went through this. I just had an identity crisis of who am I? What am I doing? Like, a lot of my identity was tied up into, well, I didn't know who I was. Like early on, I felt like I had this goal, this trajectory that I just failed at hitting. So I sort of pivoted. I felt like, okay, well, I can't do that. And so now I'm in this business world and I failed at that. And I started identifying as a failure instead of seeing failures like that I had failed, like there were failures. And for me, like for entrepreneurs, I think it's very easy to get like your identity mixed in with your company. And like these early failures, like for me now, when I think of like worst case scenarios, like, I don't know, I'm a lot more resilient now. And I think it's a lot of it has to do with a lot of like counseling and therapy and my faith. But coming back to how I got started, I've been in the digital marketing world doing consulting and stuff since 2008. This agency that I was working for, I had to get really good at learning conversion optimization and SEO and marketing strategies to help the clients that we're bringing on board, because a lot of these people were building brands. You know, a handful of them, like most of what we did was build e-commerce sites using on BigCommerce. Actually, if you remember them, they're still around. They're more on the enterprise level rather than Shopify. So I experienced them grow and looking at, okay, why do these brands grow versus other brands, and kind of the identifying factor was that they actually built a brand. There was a lot of people that we had that did a lot of like wholesaling contracts or something. They never did as well. So that was in 2012 was when I was fired. I spent 2 years trying to figure out my stuff. Went through pretty dark times, depression, a lot of mental health stuff that I just had to figure out. Coming into 2014, I was known in the area. I had what I feel like I do naturally is network. And you guys had said before the call, like you see me everywhere, and that's just what I do. It's just like I just hang out, and it's the hanging out in person, hanging out online, like Clubhouse and Facebook groups and all that stuff. But in the local business community, I had become known as the guy to talk to when you need SEO or website work. And so people kept coming to me, but I was no longer at this firm. And I was like, okay, fine. So I'll start an agency. I didn't want to do it because I just didn't want to do it. I knew the work. I knew that I didn't want to be the one doing the work. I'm a visionary. I can be the leader. But when you don't have capital, being a visionary leader, you just can't do that. You've got to do the work too. And was doing this for a year. That year, my son was born. And so I picked up, he was born in 2014, started this agency in July of 2014 after kind of bouncing around like random jobs here and there, not really making any money. Started the agency. In a couple of months, I picked up a night job serving tables. So this kind of sets the stage. In 2015, we had heard about the opportunity of selling on Amazon. In my past, again, at the agency, I had always thought of Amazon as more of a race to the bottom. I never really thought it was a place that brands could get their start, or that new brands, or that you can make your own products and sell them. I would always just thought like maybe you go and you buy a whole bunch of Nerf guns. They're on closeout and they on Amazon, like retail arbitrage.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what retail arbitrage was. But in my head, it was a losing proposition because you're listing against, dozens of other people, and it's whoever has the lowest price, who can sustain the losses, or the lowest price for the longest gets the most sales, which didn't make sense to me. But then I started looking into, and it was actually Amazing Selling Machine. Amazing.com was my intro, and I took the ASM 5 course. And the year prior, because my son was born in 2014, so we started taking him swimming. He was in our group of friends. He was the 8th kid that was born in 2014.
Oh my
gosh!
We had
a lot of babies. It's funny, like when you reach that stage of life and like your friends start getting pregnant, like everybody gets pregnant at the same time.
Yes, I'm in that stage of life right now.
All of your friends are pregnant. Yeah. It's funny, and that had happened. So we were doing swimming lessons and stuff with him, and just taking him to the pool, and so kind of the seed of an idea started there because we had an experience with the problem with swim diapers. Like I wanted to use reusable ones, because that was kind of my concession my wife gave me, that prior to him being born, I wanted to do cloth diapers, and she knew that I wouldn't be the one washing them. It would end up having to be her. And she's like, I am not washing poopy diapers. You say that you're, and I was like, no, I'll take care of them. No, and she knows me well enough that I would be like, I'll do it. And then I forget, and then it ends up being her. So
yeah,
shout out to all the moms out there, by the way, that are doing stuff, because if you got paid for the work you did, it'd be hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that was in our heads from like November, December. I took this course in March, and the product finding process back then was, there were no tools. You got to do the research and come up with things you feel like would sell, and then you verify BSR categories on Amazon and look at it. So we had determined that swim diapers were a good product offering that we could launch. I wanted to go with the single size, that because people would have to buy more, like thinking instead of just selling one, you could sell multiples. Thankfully my wife won that argument because she did the adjustable size, which is our biggest unique selling proposition. That's how we've gotten a lot of the PR buzz and a lot of the like placements that have made us who we are now. That it's a product, it's not just one of many. We're the best in category, and been able to do that within 5 to 6 years. And it's not that we sell like a groundbreaking unique product. We've just done a better job improving. And that's really the great thing about labeling and product developing, is that you don't need to be an inventor. You don't need to invent something. You can find something, say like a suitcase, right? In the 1940s and 50s, they were literally a case that you carried. But if you see somebody has a suitcase now, it's a hipster. And they're doing it to be ironic or something. It's not like nobody travels. Nobody travels with one. And I guarantee you, I say this, next time I go to the airport, I'm going to see some random person with an actual suitcase. But you get what I'm saying? Like now they all have like telescoping handles and like wheels. And I mean,
you don't even have to tilt them anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They're like built-in chargers, and they follow you, and like,
oh yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing like these Roomba type things that have like, depth perception. They just follow you, and it's like an RF chip or
they already have those, I think.
They have them.
Do they really?
They do. They have them. They have some sort of, I guess it's like an app on your phone or something. You keep your phone in your pocket. It keeps the bag within like 5 feet of you or something, follows behind. It's just, I don't know if they're actually in production or if they're like on Kickstarter or something.
Oh,
but
wow.
somebody,
I saw videos for them.
Yeah.
We live in the future, guys.
We live in the freaking future. We absolutely do.
It's like, I just want my Rosie from the Jetsons. Where's Rosie?
So I was about to say, who are the Jetsons?
Oh my God.
No, I remember the Jetsons.
Come on. So that kind of sets the stage. We got started in 2015, and the swim diapers were going to be kind of our entry into the market, and then we're going to quickly expand into greater baby space. When we were doing all of our research, we just did what I felt was natural, which is just gravitate to brand. and look at niches, because I never looked at Amazon as a single play. It was always a stepping stone, and it should be. And if you want to succeed on Amazon now, you've got to look at it like that. And you've got to build a real brand, because the days of just, selling like a cucumber slicer and a coffee mug and a carburetor cleaning kit and a floor mat washer or something, just random crap, those days are going. They're ending because of the way that Amazon is positioning products. And so I'm thankful that we did this. So I was always we looked in baby, outdoor, and pet products, because prior to having kids, when we still have 2 dogs, we have 2 dogs, a cat, 5 chickens. So we got animals. And so,
oh wow,
like
do you have the harnesses, the chicken harnesses?
Chicken harnesses? No.
Well, like they're walking them on leashes.
My uncle has those. He's up in Halifax. He has little leashes that he walks his favorite chickens on.
Oh my god,
it's the best thing ever.
No. I'm a country boy. I grew up in Colorado, and chickens are for eggs and eating.
Yeah,
they're not for pets. So our chickens are egg laying ladies. And anyway, so we limited it to those 3 categories because we knew that these are things that we're passionate about. And it's amazing to me that people don't do that. Like, they still don't do that. And there's constant questions of like, how do you find the best product? I'm like, I don't know, start with what you love. Like, what do you know? What problems do you run into? Because everybody has problems every single day. And it's one of those things that you just got to train. It's a muscle. Like, you got to start looking at problem solving yourself. And chances are, if you're experiencing a problem, what's going to happen 9 times out of 10, you're going to think of a great solution, and you get super excited about it. And then you're going to find that somebody's already doing it.
Yep.
But there's always that one time, or maybe 1 out of 100, that you're going to hit on a Netflix. And there's going to be a groundbreaking idea, and you got to put in the work. You got to fail. You got to be okay with working your ass off for little to no reward for a while. But coming in, that's what we were looking at was, okay, we're going to be in baby. So we had lined out all of these products that we were going to go with. So swim diapers were first, because we were launching in, we were planning on launching in May, but the listing went live in June. And I mean, even then, that's a lot. That's really quick, because we started taking the course in March, or we signed up in March. It was either March or April, but it was really, really quick.
Yeah.
Like, we went through, validated everything, validated suppliers, got samples, ordered samples, did the full production run, got it shipped and everything. And now what we had then is obviously not what we have now. We've done a lot better job of improving our listings, improving our brand equity, refocusing our brand. We've spent in year 2, we spent, I think, $15,000 on just a rebrand and a refresh, and making sure that we had good brand assets. And that's money that we don't have to spend again. And that's the same thing that we've used that same thing. And so now we just keep adding to it. So in a nutshell, that was how we got our start. It's kind of a winding journey, but I was always an entrepreneur at heart. And my focus, even when I was wanting to go into ministry, was wanting to do this to help people learn how to provide for themselves. Because I believe that we're not unidimensional beings. We don't just have physical needs. There's community. We need, if you're looking at it from like a religious perspective, and you're just saying, well, I just want to help your soul or whatever, but you don't care about whether or not the person can eat, or if they can provide for themselves, or if they're being taken advantage of. You got to help people. And here's the thing, like, it doesn't matter, like, whether or not they ascribe to your belief system is beside the point, in my opinion. Whatever, that's another conversation for another day. If anybody wants to talk about that. But I truly believe that you're never going to go wrong doing the right thing. If you do the right thing, it's never wrong to do the right thing. So, so that was where I started. The businesses were always a way that we could fund us being able to do charity work. But it was also because I wanted to learn, okay, I need to know how to start a business, how to make it run. Because if I want to do this and I want to teach people, I can't do it if I've never been there. Thankfully, I've started and failed dozens, so I know what not to do. And now I've started and not failed a handful of businesses too. And so now I know, okay, what doesn't work and what does work. And it's not because I've got an MBA. It's because I'm a moron. And I just know, and I just like hit my head until the wall gets soft, and then I just pound through the drywall. Anyway, that was our start. We were thinking we were going to expand more into the general baby market when we were doing the brand refresh and refocus.
Mm-hmm.
We just really decided that we're going to really get deep into baby swim and own that niche. And for anybody that's listening, one of the biggest things that you don't want to do that will derail your success is go too broad too quickly. If you look at the way that long-lasting trees that grow and stand the test of time, they always have a taproot, one long, big root that goes deep, and then they send branches out wide. And I mean, it's the same thing with business. You got to have that. You got to have a core strength that you're really good at, that you're really known well, so that then you can expand out. Like, look at like Suzuki, or let's say even Samsung. Samsung started out as they sold fish in like the 1930s or 40s or something. They were a fish seller.
Fish.
But over fish. Yeah.
Fish?
I did not know this.
Yeah, fish to
Okay.
Korea. And then they expanded out, and it's over pivots over time. Now they are what they are, but they're known as an electronics. So I'm not saying, this may sound counter to what I'm saying, is that you dig one deep. Now they could be in fish and be the best fish supplier ever, but it's about going deep, but also successful pivots over time. Because say Blockbuster, right? If you're deep in like home entertainment, when the times changed and Netflix came along, they didn't pivot. Now they're out of business. It's still home entertainment, but they could be in business if they were agile and pivoted. So that was our pivot, was instead of saying, okay, we're going to go broad, we're going to go deep. And so that really helped give us clarity and focus, so that then we can just say, okay, we are going to be the name in reusable swim diapers. We are going to be the brand that we're number one. That's our goal. We're going to be number one. And now we're adding tertiary and secondary products to that to increase our average order value on our website and, obviously on Amazon and stuff. But you got to start with brand. You got to start with a really solid, what are you going to do? How are you going to do that better than everyone? What's your unique selling proposition? And if your unique selling proposition is you're cheaper, honey, you're going to be out of business before you know it, because that's not a good one. It's not.
Yeah.
It's a race to the bottom, and you've got to have the robotic, little cart that's going to follow you.
Exactly.
I mean, again, if you're selling these suitcases, you're going to be out of business. You got to pivot. So, we're deep in that, and that's been our focus with our brand. And I'm glad, because we built a moat. Like, I've been a lot more open in the last year. Most Amazon sellers are super cagey about what they do, because they're really concerned that people are going to steal their market. Yeah. And the only concern I have are black hat people, honestly, because, and it's really not that big of a concern, because we do have black hat attacks, and in the end, the cheaters don't win. They're going to get shut down. It's the same effort that you use to cheat. Just apply that effort to doing it right. It's the same effort. It's just, one is short term and it's wrong, and it's going to hurt other people. It's going to hurt you. And the other way is the right way to do it. And you build something right that's lasting. It'll stand the test of time. So that's kind of my outlook, is how do we do it right? How do we do it? How do I build it once so that I don't have to build it again?
Yeah. If
I do it right the first time, I'm not going to have to go back and fix things that are broken. And again, I don't know, maybe a combination of life experience, failed businesses, business books, I don't know, but that's always been my thing. I tell people that I'm ambitionally lazy. I will work my ass off now, and I want to do it right, so that down the road I don't have to work as hard.
So you don't have to do it again. I totally agree with that. Yeah. And I was going to ask, like, you are one of the few people that I, hear on Clubhouse or listen to podcasts of, that you don't keep what you do super close to the vest. You're pretty open about, like, not only what niche you're in, but like the name of your company and, some of the struggles that you had. I mean, I know that I just heard you on Clubhouse briefly the other day talking about how there was even an issue with your brand name. Somebody else had also a children's apparel with a similar name, and that was an issue.
That's okay. So our brand name is, like, super briefly. So our brand name is Beau and Belle Littles. It's a long name. We also go by BB Littles, and a lot of our community calls us that because it's just easier, right? Like if your name is Rebecca, most of the time people are going to call you Becca or Becky or something like that, right? It's just how we are as humans. So we didn't trademark it when we got started because, again, we got started in 2015. None of that advice was around there then. And you didn't need to have a trademark to get brand registry back then. So we didn't do it. It was an expense that we just didn't take because we didn't feel like we needed to.
Yeah.
In the meantime, so when we launched the company, so we named it after our son. My son's name is Beau. I have French ancestry. My wife studied French, so there's a connection there. She lived in Tours for a year and did some study abroad stuff. So my nickname for her is Belle. So we were going to call it Beau Littles, but I didn't want people to get confused and think it was only a boy brand because in the off chance that somebody understands Beau, B-E-A-U, handsome in French, they would think it was a boy. So it added Beau and Belle. Initially, the plan was we were going to do a Beau Littles and a Belle Littles line. So anything under the girls would be Belle, anything under the boys would be Beau. We didn't really take that route. Anyway, so there is a company in Washington, I'm pretty sure they're in Washington, called Baby Beau and Belle, and they sell christening gowns. So they had a trademark that had lapsed, and I don't think that they realized it had lapsed. In the meantime that it had lapsed, there's a hotel chain on the East Coast that they had a section of a store. They had this like apparel store, like fancy hotels have like shops or whatever. So they had like this, I don't know, retail store inside their hotel. A corner of it was for teenage apparel, like youth apparel. And it was something like Belle and Beau or something. And they wrote it in chalk. And that was what they submitted. And they secured the trademark. It was insane. Like the whole sequence of events is crazy because Baby Beau and Belle has been around since the 80s. They sell christening gowns, nothing that we do. Like we're never going to sell christening gowns. So no confusion there. This company, in the meantime, when they lapsed, they registered this trademark in 2016. So we could have registered in 2015 and gotten it. No problem. This company registered in 2016. So the way that trademark law works, to my knowledge, again, I'm not a lawyer, but there's right of first use. So if you're the first person to use it, legally, you can take it from somebody if you wanted to fight that fight. Like if they're not amenable to doing a coexistence agreement, which is basically they agree to coexist, they agree that there's no brand confusion, that nobody in their right mind would assume that we're the company that sells christening gowns, and nobody would also assume that we're the owners of the hotel chain. So we could enter a coexistence agreement with them. The issue is that it's so convoluted because Baby Beau and Belle could have claimed right of first use and just owned it and kicked the hotel chain out. They didn't. They went into a coexistence agreement with them, and that whole process took like 1.5 years or 2 years. So it was hotel chain applied, Baby Beau and Belle applied, so they had second. Like technically, they were first use. They applied after it was granted. So instead of saying that they're going to kick them off, they're going to enter a coexistence agreement. Now we had to wait for that to get finalized before then we could do anything. And at this point, it's like, this is going to be like $20,000-$30,000 to do this whole registration rigmarole, because now we're having to talk to, we got to write out legal documents and go to, the company in Washington. And then we got to talk to the lawyers for the hotel chain. And then we got to all put a contract. And it's just, so at this point, we might register for the mark, maybe, but 20 grand, that's a lot of inventory that I could be buying. And our business is so seasonal that, like, generally speaking, we don't have a ton of cash reserves, and we have to watch ourselves really closely on our expenses. Anyway, so we own the mark BB Littles, and we have legal grounds to also coexist or own the mark for Beau and Belle Littles. Anyway, that's, if you're listening to this, and that's just you got a trademark. When you know that you have a business that you're going to brand, that you're going to go the long distance, you're going to go the distance with, just do it sooner rather than later. A couple $100, maybe $1,000, $2,000 is way, way better than having to go down the road and
20, 30 grand.
Yeah, for real. Oh, geez.
So it's a long story, but it was a real pain.
No, that
definitely,
sounds
definitely interesting. Definitely something that you can't plan for.
Yeah,
No.
the entire thing, but it sounds like a true entrepreneur journey, right? Having your successes and more failures than you have successes, and continue growing from that.
Mhm.
Ultimately, you still have a brand, right? That's a success. Maybe the one failure that there was not filing a trademark back in 2015, but you still have your brand. You still have products that you're selling. It's successful. That's I feel like a path that a lot of entrepreneurs want to avoid talking about. They want to talk about the Lamborghinis that they bought. They want to talk about being on a beach in Miami and flaunting what they got. But no one wants to talk about those failures. So first of all, kudos and thank you for actually bringing this to light. It's something that
Absolutely.
I reached out to you right after the clubhouse that I was part of with you, actually, because you started talking about, hey, no one is talking about their failures here. Why isn't anyone talking about their failures? And what? Oh, go ahead.
No one talks about the sleepless nights. No one talks about the time that they thought that they were going to lose it all. No one talks about the times when it's. I mean, there are so many times early on. I was just thinking, man, I could just get a job. I could just get a job and work for somebody and have them tell me what to do and push the easy button. And this is a conversation I was having with my wife actually to prep for this, because she's the one who handled all the registration. So I had to confirm that what she did was what I had assumed, like the SIPCA stuff. I know that was something like legal registrations for like consumer product safety. Anyway, like that sort of thing is like if you go into starting a business thinking that you're going to be able to sit on a Lamborghini in 2 or 3 months and make money on a beach, that's not you're not
it's not the reality.
It's not real.
You're going to keep banging your head on that wall and you're never going to push through.
Well, yeah.
That's
And I've worked on a beach with my laptop. First and foremost, it's a terrible idea. Why would you ever do that? Because you can't even see the screen.
Can't see the screen.
I like to have multiple screens.
You're going to get sand in the keys. Like it's going to
everywhere.
Yeah.
So people that take those photos, literally, they're only taking a photo so that they make you jealous.
And then going back into the hotel room.
So you buy some stupid product that they're schlepping. I mean, let's be honest. Like the people that are taking these photos are doing it because they want to spark greed. And really, they're like
spark envy in other people.
Envy, and they were like, "Oh, I want that lifestyle," which is okay. I can get like, I think the concept of helping people dream and think bigger is a balance between, like, pitching them something that is completely impossible. But I don't know. There's got to be a balance of like showing people, hey, like the way there are options. Like you don't have to be you don't have to be where you're at. Like. The best thing about living is it's your life. Right. You're in control. Like, obviously there's things that happen outside of our control, but like, if you want to be president, you just do it. Like, I don't know. Just keep trying. Like the only difference between Elon Musk and me is he's Elon. He's taken a different path. If I wanted to do that, I could. I just don't. I don't want that lifestyle. But anyway, that's again more beside the point, but I just don't. Anyway.
Well, one thing on that same point of sort of attracting the successes, but also highlighting the failures is during that clubhouse. What we were talking about was actually supply chain, and it was more so the sourcing and logistics aspect of it than PPC or product research and things like that. And I mean, I'm sure just as many great times that you've had with your suppliers, there were some trials and tribulations that you went through, right? Maybe at the beginning. Would you mind walking through sort of how that experience was with your new suppliers and finding them? And, before you said it in a nutshell, you said, we found them, we vetted them, we handled logistics and all that. But that's a huge box to unpack. Right?
It makes it sound way simpler than it was. So again, going back in time, I was working 2 jobs. I was trying to start a marketing agency during the day, which was partnering with one of my best friends we had started Barking Pineapple together, the one that failed early on. And we just
hilarious name.
Isn't that insane? Barking
I
Pineapple.
love it.
That was, yeah. So we could revive it. It's funny. I'm sure somebody listening, they're going to go buy it now. But anyway, he was going to be doing the development and design, a little bit of project management. I was going to be doing the sales and marketing, a little bit of project management. So we'd overlap there. I think his wife they had just had kids the year before. That's right. It was not that we were just about to have Bo. So they had twins, 2 babies. His wife was, mom, having to be full-time mom, because with twins, you can't, like, you got to be there for him.
Yeah.
So he picked up a day job at Constant Contact. And so we would work, basically when he would get off, we would work from like 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. And I was working, I picked up that job waiting tables. So I would work generally, the night shifts were always better. So I would generally work like, I don't know, noon maybe, or 2 or 3 or 4 to close. So I'd work the night, and then I'd go work with Jesse and start the web thing, the web dev stuff. So I was doing that for a year. Then when we started doing this product research, I switched what I was doing during the day with the chat, or with, what was it? Catalyst Media Group. I think that was it. I've had so many businesses. That was that one. Doing that during the day, and then meet with him at night when I needed to. But I was like, every single Thursday, the new modules would be released, and I would at midnight, 12:01 a.m. and I would stay up. I'd watch them, do my stuff. Rochelle, my wife, would watch in the morning. And did I cut out?
No, you're still with us.
Okay.
Everybody dropped on my side, but you're all back.
Okay. So during the product research phase, I had set a goal that, so first we're doing the product research, we're lining out what we want to do. And then we agreed, okay, like, we're going to do these 3 niches. And then within the niche, there were a bunch of different products. We started looking at and vetting. The initial vetting process was just seeing if, like, we could find suppliers on Alibaba, what the prices were, how much competition there was on Amazon. And when we lined out that we were going to go in baby, then we got even narrower. So it's just a process of narrowing further. And really what we did when we started, again, it was Alibaba. My goal was to have 100 contacts within Alibaba, that, like, potential sourcing opportunities, 100 people, which I didn't know if that was realistic or not. It was just a nice round number.
Right.
Then I wanted to get 10 quotes or 20 quotes, something like that. Like, just make a list, like, look at their site, see like how legit they looked. The ones that seemed more legit, then I would request quotes from 10. And then we would order samples from 5, I think. I think we ended up ordering samples from 3. And it was just that process. And how we ended up lining our initial supplier was just a combination of the quality of the product. For one, so both of the suppliers that I found were not good. Or the suppliers I found were not good. The ones that my wife found, there was 2 that were good. We ended up going with one that did.
So sorry to cut you off. How did you know they weren't good, or what made you qualify this?
How did you determine
the samples were garbage?
Okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty clear indicator. Yeah.
Absolute garbage, like terrible, like really, really, really bad pieces of junk that I wouldn't even buy them at a dollar store. Like, just terrible.
Did they say it was going to be good quality?
I don't know that I even asked. I just assumed. And that's another thing too about China, is that until you have a relationship where you're able to communicate and you understand, generally the culture in China is you got to be explicit with everything. Like, you've got to, if you want it to be like a certain, like, super high quality material, you've got to say that. And you can't just say high quality. You got to define what high quality means, because, again, there's a lot open for interpretation. We ended up landing on our main supplier now because the product quality was exceptional and her English skills were really good. And she replied. She was the quickest to reply out of all of them. And I think she was about the same, comparable in price between the second one. I think she was a little bit more expensive, but those were the big things that we looked at. Was, if we're going to be working with somebody and they're trying to sell you on their services and they don't even get back to you, then that's a clear sign that once you give them money, they're probably going to be doing the same thing. So that was how it all started. Now, since then we've expanded into doing like rash guards and swim shirts and things. The first supplier that we were working with was in China, and man, that was a communication nightmare. Like they were not, their English was nowhere near as good as Catherine's, who's our main contact.
How were you
And actually,
communicating?
mainly over Skype and WeChat and
Okay.
like the standard channels, and just a lot of misunderstandings and just like simple things again that I would just assume that they would understand. Like, I don't know, like I don't know, things that I thought would make sense. They just didn't get. So we were actually able to use Catherine, and they work for a completely different company, and she was able to clear up all of that miscommunication in like a day. And this is like after months of going back and forth. So Catherine is our main contact that works with us in China for our swim diapers.
Is she like a
And
sourcing agent, or is
She's
she like a
yeah,
manufacturer's rep?
she is so she works for a trading company. So she's a trading
Okay.
company sales rep.
Okay.
And I'm completely fine with that.
Mhm.
I know that a lot of people are always looking at ways to decrease their costs. And I mean, that makes sense. But for me, I'd rather have somebody that I know is in our corner that I'm paying a little bit extra for. And I know that we're paying more than going straight to the source, but I'm fine with that because she does amazing work,
Mhm.
and we don't have problems selling our products at the margins that we do. So finding that first supplier, I've heard so many horror stories of people that will get like an amazing sample, and then the production run is not what the sample was.
Right.
And in a way, I feel like we've lucked out a little bit because like we love Catherine. We talk to her all the time. Let's like, are you familiar with that? The concept of guanxi?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Saying
Building a
guanxi.
relationship with
Yeah,
them. Yeah.
yeah. So I just do that naturally. That's just what I do because I want to be in business with friends. And so if I'm going to be in business with somebody, I want to like them and get
Right.
to know them. And if it's all about business all the time, then it's weird.
It's very
So,
transactional. It gets robotic
yeah.
and boring.
Yeah.
And
Right. And ultimately, when you work with friends, you want to help them more. It's
Right.
just how we are as humans. So if we can build a friendship and a relationship with people, then she knows that we've got her back, and she's got our back. I mean, she's gone in on the weekends with her husband to make sure that we get stuff done. She'll go in and like do extra work for us, and we don't have a lot of the issues that a lot of people have, like quality assurance. She does it, and I trust her because she does an amazing job. Like we don't have to have an outside firm because we built such a strong relationship with her. And honestly, in looking at exiting our company, that's the biggest thing that is going to make me sad is actually not
Not working with Catherine anymore.
not working with Catherine anymore. Because she's amazing. I mean, I love, anyway, so that was how we found her. It was not a very quick process. We did a lot of work very quickly. Like we did it in about a month, and it was a month and a half, something like that. But now there's services that do this for you, and it's amazing if you don't have the time. I mean, sourcing agents and companies that will do this for you that help you avoid pitfalls. So anyway, that was how we got started with her and sourcing in China. And then I know that some of the other stuff you wanted to talk about was like product safety and testing.
Yeah, because I feel like there's a lot, especially when you're talking about the like children's niche specifically. Like I know with like toys, there's a lot of regulations with like, from my understanding from all my friends being moms, like everything has to be like BPA free if it's plastic, or the sleep sacks to help with whatever. So with like, are there any regulations surrounding like kids apparel, and maybe not swim diapers specifically, but like where would you even go to find that stuff and get the certification and learn these requirements?
Yeah. So you're gonna want to go to cpsc.gov. And I reached out to Rich Goldstein to see if he knew it better. Or is it not org.gov? They do it right. Yeah, cpsc.gov. And it stands for Consumer Product Safety Commission. And
Okay.
so they basically are the ones that write all the regulations on a federal level. A lot of different states will, like specifically California has a bunch of other state regulations that you'll have to look at, within the state of California itself on consumer product safety standards. So there's the cpsc.gov site is a good starting point. When we expanded into doing more like apparel type things. We actually found an apparel designer who has about 15 to 20 years experience working in fashion design with like H&M, Baby Gap, and that sort of thing. So she knows all the standards and all the rules, like little things like if you're selling a baby product and there's like a so let's say like unicorns, they're all the rage right now.
Mm.
Like the unicorn horn can't be longer than 3 inches. Like that's the standard within the baby product category, that if you have any like dangling material, it can't be longer than 3 inches because it could be like a choking hazard or I don't know what. But there's little things like that if you're looking at, say, apparel, for example, my best advice would be to find somebody who's been in apparel and in fashion design. And I mean, it's interesting. It's funny. I wanted to post for this position on Upwork. My wife posted on Craigslist Jobs. Just so happened that she was on a maternity leave. Her name is Kirsten. She was on maternity leave from H&M because H&M is a Swedish company. You have a mandatory 18-month maternity leave. So
That's
she
beautiful.
left Sweden, was in Lafayette, which is just south of us here in Colorado. And she saw our ad, replied. And I was telling my wife, I was like, you're not going to find anyone that knows what they're doing on Craigslist.
On Craigslist, there's no way.
It was the first person that applied. She was totally skeptical of us. Like, are you legit? And I think at this point in time, we were doing $500,000 a year or something. And so like, that was like, oh, you're actually selling things. And we were also the same, like, are you legit? And so a little happy accident there, but I think like standard, go to cpsc.gov. Other than that, I don't know that I have any other real resources for people, but like what we did, we just called the agency and we asked them what regulations, here's what we sell. What are the regulations? Like, what do we have to, what are our legal requirements for consumer product safety? And the agent that we talked to just gave us a whole list, and he told us who to contact, what testing agencies there were in the world. We can get it tested in China or America. Bureau Veritas was one of the ones that was listed as an agency that we could use. We ended up getting them tested in China because it was significantly cheaper. We had our supplier take care of all of that. And so now that was how we did it with our swim diapers. We just asked, we called and asked.
Gotcha.
Well, it's I feel like one of those things where there's just a lack of initiative from a lot of businesses or new business owners where they don't want to just Google it. they want to go to the Facebook groups and ask, which is a great resource, right? I mean, we have a tremendous community in Amazon where there's thousands of people that are going to reply to your comments and are going to provide some level of insight. But your best friend is just a few letters, Google. And you Google, where can I find these things? Who can I call? And just give them a call. Same thing was going on with PPE last year. And when, the FDA was updating all these different regulations, and Registrar Corp, for example, someone that we were using, they were giving out a tremendous amount of information completely free. All you had to do was call in. So no, it's just initiative.
There's that. And there's also, so like the Facebook group mentality too, is that you don't know the person giving you advice too. I see so much garbage advice, especially in the new sellers groups, because like it just absolutely terrible advice that people are listening to. And that was, like, I had mentioned this in Clubhouse the other day. It was Sharon Evan actually said this, and I completely agree with her that oftentimes, like, I forget that I am an influencer in the space. And I forget that some things that I might say that might be true for me, but not true for everyone else, people take to heart. And then they do that thing without thinking about there's a difference between my business and their business.
Right.
And so there's an onus on community leaders and influencers to make sure that what you're doing is actually of value. Again, because of my faith-based background, I always think of like these analogies of you're going to know a tree by its fruit. If you want to grow apples, you plant an apple seed. You're not going to go to a pine tree and start picking apples. And that's the same thing with influencers or people that are giving you advice. You can't just look at them and see, okay, well, you've got a bunch of money. That's cool. That's a great marker that you've made a lot of money, but how did you get the money? Like,
Mhm.
how is it? And is it like, why are you pushing this image? So that those are the things that I always think of. And just because somebody appears to be successful doesn't mean they're legit.
Mhm.
And it's really hard for me to say that because I don't want people, well, obviously, like, I feel like I'm legit, but I guess what I want people to think is, like, listen to advice, but verify. And like you said, Francois, like, Google, just go to Google,
Yeah.
look up government agency testing or something like government product testing or something like that. Look at the .gov websites, go to your local SBA. There's so much, like, that is one of the most underutilized resources for Amazon sellers is the Small Business Administration, or SBDC, Small Business Development Centers. The SBA has a lot of regional areas, like centers that are SBDC, that's Small Business Development Centers in America, that you can get free consulting on all sorts of stuff, IP, accounting, like web development, SEO. It's like in Larimer County where I live, you could basically do like little mini classes that you would, if you're going to pay for these courses on like the guru sites or whatever, a couple $1,000s, but they give it to you for free because they're in the business of helping business. If you're a business owner, and if you live in America, you should be doing this. And don't just think that just because you sell on Amazon, you're an Amazon business. You are not an Amazon business. Okay, Amazon is an Amazon business. You are not Amazon. You sell on Amazon. And that's the
Mhm.
biggest thing that I think that people get so mixed up, that they think that, yes, there are unique ways to rank on Amazon. Yes, there are ways that you can get reviews, and there's tactics and things that are unique to Amazon. But at its heart, you're building a brand. In brand strategies and brand growth mentality is the same. It's been the same for eons. It ties into like our core psyche and motivators as human beings that hasn't changed for millennia.
Right.
So like, do it right. Don't shortcut, because you're going to shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
an Amazon business. I love the way you put that. I've never heard it put into that perspective that Amazon is an Amazon business. You do
Yeah.
not have an Amazon business.
I heard that in a clubhouse the other day. It may have been you, so I'm not going to credit anybody else, but I did hear it like 3 days ago.
Yeah, my buddy Tim. It's funny because like he, I don't know if you guys know Tim Jordan, but he and I think a lot alike on this. And I felt like it was my thing. And he and I were speaking at the $1 Billion Seller Summit, and he said it before me. And I was like, "You bastard!" He stole my line. But it's true, because you look at Tim, right? Tim is super successful. He's one of the most well-connected people in the space. Why is he successful? Because he does things right. He's got a good heart. He wants to help people. He's not doing it to make money. Yeah, he makes a lot of money, and he has a lot of coaching and consulting and things. Why does he have that? Because he's legit. He knows what he's doing. He's not out there to just make money. And I think that's my biggest thing with Amazon sellers is, if you're in it just to make money, that is a very shallow reason, incredibly shallow, because money is just a tool. Like, why do you want money? What's the purpose? What are you going to do with the money? Just because maybe you want a mountain of money, what are you going to be, Scrooge McDuck? Like, go swimming through your coin pile? I don't know if that was before your time, Francois.
No.
It's not.
I was joking around earlier about the Jetsons.
Were you though?
Yeah.
No, it's no, that's a great product idea, and I'm sure a lot of people will buy it. Get your face with the quote that Amazon is an Amazon business. You are not an Amazon business, and sell it to all of Tim's followers.
There you go.
I will. I'll do a merch. I'll do a merch shirt. And
There you go.
Exactly.
Make sure you put it in quotes and say that I said it first, right?
Yeah, I said it first. Tim. I mean, technically, Tim said it first, but I thought it first.
I thought it first. Then there we go. Not stepping on anyone's toes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's it's an interesting perspective. Definitely that you are not an Amazon business. You are essentially an e-commerce seller, or you could be an e-commerce business. You could just be a regular business that just happens to sell on e-commerce too, I guess. But what are your plans? I mean, what are your plans for expansion, for product growth, for how are you scaling your business up? I guess that's usually the next question that a lot of sellers tend to have.
So in our brand, I have mostly exited in terms of my involvement to
Okay.
focus on Chat Marketing University, which I haven't done much with that in the past year because we
What is
started
that?
another. So it's a course that I started in 2018. When I started, it was called Messenger Bot University, and it was just teaching people how to use chatbots, ManyChat, really, to launch products, get reviews. We were the first course on the market for chatbots, and the first in the space for Amazon. And so chances are, and not chances are, because I was the first, most of the people, like, if they're teaching you something, is something that I pioneered in, like, how to get reviews, your review strategy, your post-review follow-up strategy, how to launch products. A lot of these things were things that we pioneered and we taught to people. A part of that was I got all these speaking gigs and stuff, and I was talking about this. And so one of the things that has come out of all the speaking gigs and the podcasts and the webinars and all that was people wanting to hire me to do the work for them. So I started an agency last year called the Chat Agency. Again, I was like very reluctant to do this because it's a lot of work. Doing a service-based business versus a product-based business, they're completely different business models. And it's just way more time intensive because on one hand, your product is you sell the product. The other one is you're selling your time and your expertise. And so I spend almost all my time now training people, my team, and working with them in finalizing in processes and that sort of thing. So in Bow and Bell Littles, we are wanting to exit within the next year or two. And we've started those conversations, but it's one of those things too, that I have all these ideas in the baby space and the baby niche and like things that I want to do. If I just had a couple $1 million, backing me, that I knew that we could be $1 billion brand. It's just, do I want to, or do I want to just sell it and then start a new thing? Because we got another brand that will be launching here later this year, more in the consumable product space. I'm super stoked about that. It's going to be amazing. And so that's what we're doing on the business side. I'm doing a lot of consulting, or I'm starting to get requests for consulting because of Clubhouse. Exciting stuff with like acquiring agencies that are I'm talking with, and again, the Chat Agency, providing service for people. That's where I'm spending all my time. And so my wife is focusing on Bow and Bell Littles. We have a CMO that we brought on a couple years ago who is absolutely amazing, and she's amazing. And so she's basically taken over my role.
Gotcha. Very cool. Well, we are at the hour mark here. Francois, if you don't have any more questions, I'm going to have Paul give everybody some information on how to get a hold of him.
Is that an opportunity to go an extra hour with Paul? Is that what you're opening up, Lisa?
Do you have another hour on your schedule?
I 100% can go an extra hour with Paul if Paul can grant me the extra hour, but we can always save it for next time. Paul, I mean, if you would want to come on again, your mindset and your description of the trials and tribulations and the realities of what being a new business owner and accentuating your failures as well as your successes is something that fascinates me. But it's also something I feel like needs to be just continue to be talked about, and not enough people talk about it. So if you could come on again later on, we could test out the internet connection maybe an hour before,
or maybe I could just buy a longer Ethernet cable.
There you go.
I could just do that.
I will send you, if you don't have one by then, I will send you a new Ethernet cable before our next episode.
That's good. I appreciate that. Well, I appreciate the thoughts on mindset too. And it's one of those things that, like, there's a handful of people in the space that talk about it a bunch, mindset in specific, but I agree. There's not enough talk about failure. And I was fortunate enough to go through my 2 years of depression prior to this. I feel like that really helped set me up, because like, getting clear on who you are as a person is essential for life. Okay. Whether you're in business or not, you got to know who you are and what you're about. Like, if you don't understand your reason for existing on this rock, walking around in your flesh suit, why are you here? Seriously, why are you here? If you're not comfortable with that, and most people aren't, most of us live our lives on autopilot. We're propelled via inertia from the womb till we die. And we just don't think about why we're here. We don't think about, let's leave any religious beliefs out of it. Let's just say that there's nothing. Okay. Why are you here? There's got to be a reason.
Right.
even if it's just you won the genetic lottery, and the fact that you exist. If you go into the eons of time, the fact that you exist is a miracle. Like
Absolutely.
all of the universe, billions and trillions, quadrillions of stars. I don't know, whatever. Like the fact that you're here is amazing. And that's the message that I want to get out, is that people have a purpose. You have a reason for being here. And what is that? And you got to figure that out. And it's greater than money. And I think that when you look at people and then you talk to people about the things that motivate them, it comes down to like family and community. And it doesn't matter what walk of life you're on, what side of the aisle you're on. We all want basically the same things. And if you aren't clear on that and you get it mixed up with what you do versus who you are, because what you do is not who you are. If you get your do and who mixed up, it's going to be hard. So that, I guess that's my thing, is mindset starts from who you are. And if you're not okay with who you are, then you got to figure that shit out, because everything you do is just, if you don't have that, it's like you're ignoring it. And eventually you gotta come to the surface. You might have a mental breakdown like I did. You might have to go through years of depression, but until you figure that out, yeah. Anyway, we'll save that for another talk, and I'll like outline my thoughts better, so I'm not rambling. But that's my big.
We will have the other talk. You will have an
Absolutely.
Ethernet cable. We'll
Yeah.
get this figured out.
Good. Well, I appreciate the time, guys.
Yes,
course.
absolutely. Thank you so much. And again, how can people get in touch with you if they want to either get a hold of you on Clubhouse or anything?
Clubhouse. Yeah, Clubhouse. You can follow me on Instagram if you want to see just family photos and things. I generally don't post a lot of business things on my personal Facebook or Instagram. I generally don't accept friend requests from people that I don't know or don't know a lot of people that I know. So the best way to connect would be Clubhouse, because it's business. And yeah, just look me up, Paul Barron.
Just Paul Barron? No
Paul
underscore,
Barron.
nothing?
No, just
Okay.
Paul Barron on Clubhouse. We set up a website that you can access, that we do weekly Clubhouse rooms that we've recorded for, I think, 10 weeks now. And you can get all those recordings at AMA or AMZ AMA. So Amazon AMA, Ask Me Anything .club. AMZAMA.club. And it'll give you access to the recordings and kind of hear more about like what we do and how we help people in our community.
Perfect. Well, Paul, thank you again so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. We look forward to having you on again soon.
Thanks, Lisa. Francois.
Of course.
I appreciate it,
All
guys.
right. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you soon.
And for listening. See you guys.
And for listening.